All right, next up, we got the bookends. We've got our tackles, our offensive tackles, the guys responsible for protecting the edge, making sure these guys don't get in and sack Caleb, sack the quarterback. And this is what I had before the season started. Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, very good. But the offensive tackles, the offensive line of the NFC North are all stacked. Here's how last year looked. I've the same as the offensive line. Just we'll screen right past this. Pass block, run block, pressures between plays. I took out pass block efficiency just like the last video because it's overemphasizing the pass block, not enough on the run block. So here's last year's. This is where they stood after last year. The Lions were 1, the Vikings were 2, Packers were 3, Bears were 4. Again, taking the bias out of it, look how bad the Bears tackles were last year compared to the other ones. We allowed a lot of pressure. That was the biggest problem, was our outside edge pressure. Now I have narrowed it down to the top 2 guys because this year every team in the NFC North has basically had only 2. There's not enough to qualify for a third guy, whereas last year most teams had enough for a third guy to qualify. So here's this year. I'm going to cut right to the chase and just show where things stand. And the Bears are still in 4th, mostly because the NFC North tackles are stacked. But look at the pressures from Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. It has improved significantly. So it's better, but this is probably the biggest weakness of the Bears compared to the elite. Now, Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones aren't by any means the worst in the league, but if you're taking our offensive tackles and saying these are the stud positions that really protect the offensive line, that protect the quarterback, that get everything flowing on this side of the ball, the Bears are a little bit weaker than these other elite teams. Look at Penei Sewell, 89.5 run blocking grade, 79.2 pass blocking grade. Taylor Decker, 67.6 and 81.5 pass block, run block. But the pressure they allow, Penei Sewell, 1 every 35 snaps. Taylor Decker, 1 out of every 25 snaps. That's elite. I want above 20. That's where I say. For your offensive tackles on the outside, they get more pressure coming at them. 20 is starter, where you want your starters to be at. 30 is elite. So Penei Sewell, obviously elite. Look at the bottom. Zach Tom having an absolutely spectacular year. One of the best years by anybody. So he's really elevated the Packers. But on the other side, they've got a little weakness there with Rasheed Walker. His run blocking grade, 47.3, the worst of any of the tackles in the NFC North. But both pass blocking grade. These guys are the second or third best pass blocking efficiency in the entire NFL for the Packers. So they really help that. And you look at those top 3, the Lions, they're 16.61 grade, the Vikings 15.54, and the Packers 15.29. They're all right there together. I mean, very consistent and sharp. The Bears aren't scrubs. You look at Darnell Wright, 74.5 run blocking grade, Braxton Jones, 70.5 run blocking grade. That's really good. Pass blocking grade, 67.7, 72.6, but they're giving up a little bit more pressure, and this is where most of the pressure has come from. You hear people talk about Braxton Jones getting bull rushed and pushed back. That's what they're talking about. So I don't think it's like panic worthy, but this is one of those things where, are we going to extend Braxton Jones with 1 pressure every 15 plays allowed? And I know this looks worse here, guys, because you're comparing against the best of the best, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers. These are some of the best offensive tackles in the league. There are other good I'm not saying we're the only ones. But when you're comparing that, it makes Braxton Jones look even worse. He's not terrible, but he's definitely not sign an extension worthy when you're talking about your blindside tackle, when you're talking about someone there to protect the quarterback and make this elite. He's definitely not there as your elite of the elite guy. Can he keep improving? At this point, he's kind of in year 3, 4, where you're not looking at completely changing his game. I think there's things he can do, but I think we're probably drafting an offensive tackle sooner than later, or signing one in free agency to be able to be that bookend, to be a Penei Sewell, to be a Zach Tom. Zach Tom's still a little young to say if he's consistent and going to be like this all year and going to be the man, but he's definitely heaven sent for the Packers. Packers fans have to be loving what they're seeing out of Zach Tom. It's a huge. If Bears fans had that, we would be saying, "Oh man, we're on top of the world. We're freaking flying high." So here's the metrics behind it. What I do, I show you guys this just so you can have a peek inside and see it. There's unbiased ranking. It just plug it in and then it formulates out, and it's all fairly based. By the way, but you see the pressure grades. You go PVP. The Bears are at 3.48 for the portion there, and the other ones, look at the line, 6.02. So they're definitely heads above us. That was last year, sorry. Here's this year's. And definitely some work to do there. I'm not even saying Darnell Wright is a 10th overall worthy pick at this point. He's in year 2. He's kind of exactly where Braxton was. We're okay with him, but we're not elite with him. So maybe a miss there by Ryan Poles, but too early to tell. But this is one of the Bears' weaknesses. If we're going to point out weaknesses on the team, one of the biggest weaknesses we have would be compared to other elite teams. If we want to win a Super Bowl, it's going to be the tackle position. So sometimes I hate doing these videos because then it makes people panic and go worse. But we're better than we were last year. We're above average. We're just not elite. And you want to be elite when you're talking about getting to Super Bowls. So nothing to be like panic, frantic over, but this is something to definitely track as we move into the next phase of the season, into the second 2/3 of it. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are, because this one's a little bit this is one where we rank 4th, and you have to be realistic about where we stand. So we are 4th in offensive tackles in the division. That's where we stand. So we'll see where we go from here. Till the next video, which will be tight ends, dabears.